and starting the countdown.
Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm Kevin.
We are
the Signal Brothers. Welcome back to another live episode of the Signal Brothers, where we are going to look at Trump's first 100 days in office. Yes, he's been in office 150 days, but we're going to use the 100-day mark to evaluate some of the things that, some of the many subjects that have been conversations, such as immigration, tariffs, the Ukraine war, excuse me, I can't even speak English today, and DOGE and DEI. And matter of fact, there's something else about Trump's first 100 days that you'd love to discuss. Hey, would you let us know? Drop it in the chat. Let us know. We're very responsive to people who put comments in the chat, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. We love to take questions, but the questions always should be on the subject we're discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, let us know what you're passionate about. Let's get you on the podcast. We'd love to have some guests on the podcast. We've only had one taker since we've been doing this, and we'd love to have some more guests on the podcast. So if you're interested in joining the podcast, let Jim or I know. We'd be happy to talk to you and get you on. So, Jim, first 100 days. Talk to us about what you're thinking.
I'll tell you what. The first thing I have to say is the Trump we got in office this time is far different than the Trump we had in his first term. Night and day. You know, he stepped in the first time and it's like, okay, let's put this stuff aside, work together, and see what we can accomplish. And got nothing. So this time he's coming in and he's like a steamroller. And there's no denying that, for good or for bad. He is coming in like a steamroller and just rolling it all over. And you and I discussed this a moment ago. We're kind of in agreement, a little bit here, different here and there, but there's a lot of stuff being done right now, again, for good or for bad, and we're going to discuss it.
Absolutely. I voted for Trump, both terms. Matter of fact, all three, right? And the bottom line is that this is a much, much different administration. He knows he's got 4 years. Really, he's got probably 2 years to get stuff done. And he's come in to office blazing to do a lot of stuff. And I know it's got to be done. I know there's a lot that's got to be done. And I like a lot of stuff that's being done. But at the same token, I'm pissed off at a lot of things that are being done, right? So it's a love-hate relationship with what's going on. And and of course, when I get pissed off, I have to remind myself, Jim, would I have wanted President Harris?
Oh my God.
Absolutely not. So when I get upset about the things I don't like, I have to remind myself of what it would have been like had we have had President Harris with Vice President Waltz. So that's my take. Should we jump into the topics, or wait? I think you got something you wanted to cover first, right? About executive orders.
Yeah. Executive orders. He's Roosevelt set the record for 99 executive orders in his first 100 days. Trump, as of this posting, which was April 29th of this year, I believe, Trump has way surpassed that. 142 as of this article. And it's like, I think it's something like 100 of them were just reversing Biden era orders or laws or whatever. So he's really gone to town on these executive orders. And we've discussed this with other presidents as well. You know, everybody gave Obama such a hard time for all these executive orders. Well, by this time he had done 19. You know, not a fan of Obama, but he hadn't even done that many. And then Trump's just, like you said, he's just coming in and he's just doing stuff. I mean, he's just doing a little bit of everything. For good or for bad, he's a steamroller.
All right. Well, let's get into our first area that we're going to cover on the Trump report card, and that's immigration.
Mm-hmm.
So amazing the difference at the border
Mm-hmm.
between before and now, like night and day.
Oh, yeah.
Like night and day. The border, as far as I'm concerned, the southern border is under control. I think there's work to do on the northern border. So I'm happy with what's happened at the border. I'm happy with the violent gang members that they have deported. However, Jim, I'm concerned, and so I'm rating him a C for immigration because we're going after everybody and anybody who has. I mean, if you're here on a green card and you had a traffic ticket, right? You might find yourself sitting in a cell, right, ready to be deported. And here's my thing, man. Let's get the violent criminals out of here. 100%. Like, let's send a message. But you know what? We're a country that's rule of law, Jim, and I don't think there's rule of law being applied in a lot of these cases, and it concerns me because you're going to find balance, Jim. If I got it. People came in this country illegally. I got it. And everybody says, well, the law shouldn't apply to them. But we're a country of laws, rule, and order. And when we throw it out the window for people that came here legally, Jim, my concern is that it's very easy. It's a very thin line to bleed over that us citizens can potentially lose those same rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you and I discussed this a little bit. You rated him a C. I rate him about a B for immigration. I'm kind of with you. I don't think we're there yet, but it is a dangerous line to approach, and we don't ever want to cross it. And I had mentioned before about the whole thing about, report your neighbor that's an illegal. I was like, I didn't like reporting your neighbor when they didn't get their COVID shot during COVID. I didn't like that. Because you think about back to Germany during World War II. You call your neighbor, hey, my neighbor's Jewish, or hey, my neighbor's this or that, and they'd come and get them. And I'm just, no, I don't like that. So that takes away from my A rating. And the approaching the line that you're talking about takes away from my A rating. So I rate how he's doing it at about a B. Yeah,
it's concerning. We fell on, or I say he fell on a sword on this guy, Garcia, right, from Maryland. Okay. Mm-hmm. And obviously everybody was up in arms, right? It was first the federal government said, hey, it's an administrative error. Then they, started finding stuff about him, saying he's MS-13, and he very, very well may be, right? But the Supreme Court was very clear. I have their ruling up, and it said that they should follow the lower court's ruling about not necessarily returning him, but running him through a process, right? And everybody says that the Supreme Court said he had to return. And I'm reading the Supreme Court's ruling, and it said that to make sure that he gets the due process that he should be getting. Right. Now the lower court has come back and said, hey, you have a deadline to return him. And so I don't know why we don't. I don't know why we don't return him, Jim. I don't know why we don't go through the process and run him through the process like we should be doing. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I think where you and I disagree on this. He's out. I'm glad he's out. He don't need to be back. Due process. I get fair treatment, but due process to reverse something that wasn't done by due process, I don't know about all that. Now, if he wants to be in his home country and go through, the steps of everything that need for asylum or whatever else he wants to do, sure, let him go through it. But from there, if he is, MS-13 or whatever else, yeah, we definitely don't want him here. But the thing about it is the media, as they do, played with this. They didn't call him, they just called him, Maryland man, the Maryland man that got deported, the Maryland man. They didn't say he came into the country illegally. They didn't say he was, suspected of this or that affiliation. They just, presented him as a regular day Joe that you run across on the street. It's that manipulation we talked about before, of the facts, to the point where you don't really even know. Because, I mean, like you said, MS-13, we don't know. Some people say he is. Again, who are you going to believe? Instead of knowing facts, you're told stories to fit an agenda. Should he get due process? Technically, I don't think so, since he didn't use it to get in. But if he really is not what they say, then he should be allowed to go through the process to come here legally, but he should do it from where he's at, from his home country. So, Kevin, I don't have you on audio.
Oh, sorry about that. I'll tell you where I stand on this. I feel very strongly that we should have returned him. I feel very strongly about that. I'm not saying that we had to return him home to his family and everything's done and everything's good to go, but we should have brought him back, and he could have been in a detention center getting his case, getting his day in court, right, where he's got a chance to truly be represented and go through the process. I know we disagree on this, Jim, but I think, again, we're a country of rules, law, and order, and when you throw that out the door, we're subjecting regular residents from being subjected, having rule and order.
See, I agree with that sentiment. I really do. But that is so abused. I mean, it's so abused, and they take advantage of it. Again, we can't control that. Our own citizens that are criminals take advantage of that. So that's, a moot argument. But yeah. I mean, would I be happy if they brought him back? No. But they brought him back and they put him in detention while this was going on. I could live with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be happy about it, but I could live with it. We're doing something. We're not just letting them. We're not doing a catch and release, putting them back into the community.
Agreed. And
Okay.
What I'm concerned about is the ones we don't know about, right?
Mhm.
That were scooped up, right? That shouldn't be. So again, for me, we're a country of rules, law, and order, and we should follow that. 100%.
Well, I think I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think we've got more of a leg to stand on now that we're applying it on both sides. But before, we were just letting them roam in just free, unchecked, pretty much. And now we're going to put down the hammer. Okay, that doesn't work. I get that. But now that we put down the hammer on one, okay, we would be hypocrites if we didn't apply that to the other. So there I would agree with you.
Okay. We ready to move on to the next subject?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. Let's talk about tariffs.
We
had a podcast about tariffs, and we said, hey, we're going to look back in maybe 90 days and come back. I think we're right about 90 days, and here we are covering the Trump report card on this.
Yeah.
I give him a B, and I'll tell you why. I'm really happy with the fact that he has been levying tariffs on all these countries and the unfair advantage that these countries have had on us, these other countries have had on us for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good because now we've forced other countries to reduce the prices of the items they're selling to absorb some of the impact from the tariffs. It's caused countries to negotiate with us, which I think is really good. The only issue that I have is that I truly believe that costs on things have gone up with tariffs, number one. And number two, it's shown that there's been billions of dollars coming into the federal government by the tariffs. But the question is, who's paying those tariffs? That's my issue. It's really the companies that are importing goods that are really paying that tariff at the door. It's not the country, right? I think that's pretty clear, right? If I'm a company and I'm buying something from China and there's 100% or 150% tariff on it, right? I'm paying that duty in order to get those items released so that I can resell them, right? So number one, I'm renegotiating prices with China, right? So that I can sell them for a decent price. Number two, I'm still paying that tariff. So I'm really happy. I got to say I'm really happy with what's going on with this. But the one issue I have is who's really paying the bill.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you for slightly different reasons. I rated a B. Though gas prices have come down, eggs have come down, inflation has come down. The economy is in a little bit better position. And you can look at, different stats online all over the place. Now, you're right, though, if you're paying all these tariffs, and you're a company, the tariffs are going to get passed on to the buyer, the consumer. Yeah, okay. But also in a lot of cases, he goes to slap this tariff on, and we talked about this when we had the tariff podcast. He goes to slap a tariff on, and they're like, whoa, we don't need this. And then all of a sudden they say, okay, let's negotiate. He halts the tariff. I mean, it's a tool. Not to mention the tariffs that are put on us, nobody wants to talk about. So I'd have to rate it overall a B. I mean, we've seen better, we've seen worse, but it's working as it pretty much should. It could still be better. We're early yet.
Yeah. Again, it is still early. I am, like I said, I am happy in general that we are leveling the playing field. Again, I know we say that prices are coming down, but I got to be honest with you. I go shopping with my wife every Sunday, Jim. And some of the items that we purchase, and I'm not talking about eggs, I'm talking about the everyday items, right? There are a lot of things that have gotten more expensive, and I'm not tying it necessarily to inflation. There are other factors involved, but I think my grocery bill has gone up significantly, and I'm not blaming Trump for it. I'm just saying in general, I think the price of shopping for stuff in the store has gone up. Is it directly related to tariffs? I don't think so. Because I'm talking about meats. I'm talking about things like cream cheese. I'm talking orange juice and milk and creamer and things of that nature. It just seems to me that some of the things have gotten more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, some things have. Other things have dropped. So I guess it could be related to the tariffs. You put tariff on this, but not on this. So that's why that came down. And that's why this went up. I mean, it's just it's the big picture. And I mean, there's always a give and take. It's just some of it could be related and some of it not. I agree with that.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, she does most of grocery shopping, my wife, but I pay for when we go out to eat. And I've noticed going to places that we've, because sometimes we'll go a long ways, and sometimes we go to our neighborhood, regulars. You know what I'm talking about? The O'Charlie's, the Outback, stuff like that. And I've noticed there for a while them going up, and I've noticed them coming down recently. And like, what was it last night? I was out somewhere, and I got a big old burger, a big old basket of fries, and a pint of beer. It's $13. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. When was the last time you could do that? That was awesome.
Awesome. We ready to move on to the next subject, or anything else on tariffs, Jim?
I'm good.
All right. On to the Ukraine war.
Yeah.
I got to be honest, Jim. I got to give him an F here. Right? He said he was going to end this war even before he got in office, which he didn't really have the authority to do. But he's 150 days into his presidency, and this war is still going on. Right? I don't think he's lived up to all the hype on this. And as there are lots of people dying senselessly in that war every day. And I don't see enough action going in to end that war.
I mean, you're right. I'd have to rate him a D, Delta. pretty much because I'm hard pressed to rate anyone an A or an F. I mean, it has to be drastically good or bad. But I mean, I think back to when he was being questioned about whose side he takes, and he just said, I just want the dying to stop. It's like, okay, that's pretty admirable. I get that. And of course, we had the infamous meeting with him and Zelensky in the Oval Office. And some reports said Trump was a jerk. Some reports say it's only Zelensky was a jerk. So you don't really know who to believe unless you watch it yourself. And just things have gone up and down since then. I mean, what can you actually do to control two other countries in their war? I mean, send our troops in, and then get more people killed. I mean, what can you really do? I don't hold it so much against him as I would any other sitting president, because again, it's a war in somebody else's country. We have limited involvement, although one of the biggest areas of power that a president has is in foreign policy. But again, what can you do? Can you send our troops in? But then do we want to risk a war with Russia? I mean, the largest country on the planet. I mean, do we really want to do that? But do we want to sit back and watch people needlessly die? But then do we want to send our own people over to die? It's a tough call, man.
It's not a tough call for me. He talks a tough game. This is why I give him an F here. He talks a really tough game, right? So I don't understand why he is not getting on the phone with Putin and saying, "Look, dude, I'm not playing. You say you want to agree to a peace plan, you want to negotiate peace, but your actions don't demonstrate that, right?" So I think he's got to get on the horn, and I think he's got to say, "Hey, I'm serious. I mean business on this. We're worried about going to war with a country that has been battered down and their troops have gotten their butts kicked by a small country." I'm not saying that they've lost the war to Ukraine, but the number of casualties that they have endured over 3 years, right, has taken a toll on them. Not only on their personnel, equipment, planes, everything. So I don't think it's going to come to the point where we're going to get into a war with Russia, but I think there are actions he's got to take, and they could be financial, they could be tariffs. There's lots of things that he could do to initiate, to let know he's not playing without going to war.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at a story a minute ago, and he just had that. I knew he had a discussion with Putin recently, and what came out of that was the possibility of talking about a ceasefire. But again, that was 2 weeks ago. So, and it's just not going nowhere. I mean, spoils of war and all that. I mean, do we commit and send troops over there? Do we make permanent bases in Ukraine? Just the presence of which would deter Russia from, acting stupid. I mean, we've done that before. We've got bases in Germany and everywhere else now, still Korea from the war left over, just as a peacekeeping presence. We could do that. Maybe not cost, anybody any lives, but just be there, as a show of strength, as a show of solidarity with the country. But then, okay, you're on Ukraine's side, you're not on Russia's side. So then we fall out of favor with Russia. And, the entire discussion during his first term was he was in collusion with Russia. Well, if he was in collusion with Russia, you would think that this whole war would be over by now and Ukraine would be part of Russia again. So, I think, I don't know that we want to get actively involved, but I wouldn't be objected to some peacekeeping presence over in Ukraine. I wouldn't be object to that. I mean, like I said, we've done it other places to this day.
Yeah, I think it starts with both sides with a ceasefire before you put any troops on the ground, right, for a peacekeeping mission, number one. Number two, Europe's agreed to provide troops for peacekeeping mission if they can agree to a ceasefire, which is a good thing because the problem's in Europe, and Europe should be fostering that relationship between the two countries, right, to do it. I think, again, He's got an F for me because he has failed. He talks the talk, but this is one area that he's not walking the walk. Let's be honest, Jim. He's not walking. He talks a good game, but this is one area that he has not been able to deliver on.
I won't disagree. I still think overall he's delivered a lot more than a lot of other presidents. He's just not in this area. I've got to give you that.
Yeah, just in this area. So, all right, on to our next topic, DOGE.
And we all had a whole other
podcast. We've done a podcast about this. So, on DOGE, I give him. Listen, I'll give him a B, maybe a B minus. Right? I love the idea of cutting fraud, waste, and abuse in the government. The government has gotten too big over the years. Yes, I was a government employee most of my life, and so that doesn't make me a hypocrite. I worked hard for the money that I earned. I actually delivered for the government, for the U.S. taxpayers the time I was a government employee. But I will say this: we've taken a chainsaw to something that probably deserved a scalpel. Now, I get it. He's going to fight. People are going to fight everything he does, and that's why he went extreme. But I think when you do things to the extreme that has been done with DOGE, right? I'm good with getting rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse. But when you do it to the scale that they've been doing, I think you screw up some valuable programs. And I'm not talking about USA aid. I'm not talking about that at all. What I am talking about is I've watched the impacts across the DOD and some of the things that Secretary Higgs has put in place, right? And I see the impacts it's having. And a prime example, right? They talked about saving money with the contract that I'm a contractor on, right? They're, $500 billion help desk contract. Well, guess what, Jim? It's not a help desk contract. It's a full enterprise services contract over 10 years, and they're bringing in DISA to do the help desk work, right? And to do the endpoints and stuff like that. But can I tell you something? It's more expensive. It's more expensive. It's going to cost the government more, the taxpayers more, using the services that this is providing. So I'm definitely a prime example of why I think, sometimes you have to do it carefully so you don't break things, number one. Number two, you don't end up paying more money, right? And so I think that's super important.
Yeah. Okay. I'll agree with your rating on that one. I'll give him a B. But I disagree with we talked about this before in our podcast. I love the chainsaw. I mean, I do. Something that big and that out of control, it will take generations to go after it with a scalpel. I mean, generations. Because it's taken generations to get there. The reason why I would give it a B and not an A, as much as I love it, is I still want to see a detailed analysis, a report, something. Not just this news agency or that news agency say, hey, they just saved this for $500 billion. I want to see something solid from the White House or from somewhere saying exactly what they saved where. And I'll give you, Kevin, there probably is going to be some collateral damage. I'm sure there will be. And in any effort like that, there's going to be. And at that point, we can say, well, we saved, grabbing numbers here, we saved $1 billion program that was good. Okay, let's take that 10 billion and let's put this program back. I could live with that. As long as people aren't out there suffering from it, let's put it that way. But I still want to see a definitive analysis and report on what has actually been done and what we've actually saved over a period of time from the American taxpayer. That's the only reason why I don't give it an A.
No, I'll agree with you on that. I'm a big proponent that there should have been a website stood up at DOGE, and all the areas that they found fraud, waste, and abuse should be up there publicly for the taxpayers, the whole American public to see. Right.
Mm-hmm.
This way, you really got accountability of it. And prime example is just because we say we did it, I want to see the action behind it. Prime example, right? my contract supposedly was canceled. It's not canceled, right? It's being reduced, but it's not canceled. So you got to realize the real savings as well on the things that you're actually doing, right? You got to show that you're actually saving money. So I would agree with you on that, Jim. I would agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if there's that much money flowing and then stopping, there's got to be a record of it somewhere. You know, they got to be able to account for it somehow. And with everything else, with the way the government loves its paperwork, and I can't believe there's no paperwork on this that the American taxpayer can look at.
Yeah, there's got to be. And, just like with IRS, they were talking about all the waste at the IRS. I'd love to see that.
Hey, we got a
wow.
comment.
Colin says there is one. Interesting.
What?
We're going to have to look that up, Colin.
For lying Doge. Okay, thanks, Colin.
So, really, it's again, even if they're putting it on a website, right? What I want to do is I want to see the follow through on the actual savings, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got to see the actual savings. Just because it's posted up there doesn't mean that we actually put money back in the coffers.
I mean, because of
the U.S. Treasury.
And, the government's like a pyramid scheme. Well, I see $500 billion there, but I can slide it over to this other place here. And we still have the money. But we did cut this waste right here. But now it's over here, and then, 3 generations from now, there's another 2 guys on a podcast saying, what they on this program that has $500 billion in it. Where'd that come from? Oh, this one that they canceled, 75 years ago. I mean, sleight of hand, they're good at that, So even with something out there tallying it, who's tallying it?
The thing is that here we are trying to pass this one big, beautiful bill, right, of money. So all the offsets from all the money we've saved from DOGE, we should be able to see those offsets in our budget, right, for our the next budget bill coming up. We should be able to incorporate those in as cost savings and cost measures so that we truly realize the savings that have happened. I think it's super important. I'm looking at the website that Colin posted.
Yeah, I just pulled it up too.
And I'm rolling. And okay, it's a bunch of information, but again, there's no meat and potatoes behind that, right? I would expect better than this from DOGE. I would expect, running total, weekly.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did a lot for COVID, right? We analyzed COVID to death. During COVID, you could get on and you could see the number of people per week, per region, per everything. And I see nothing being broke down that way here. Mm-hmm. So this is a little sketchy to me.
Well, there is a savings tab. Did you click on the savings tab?
No, I didn't see that. I didn't.
Off to the right, at the top.
All right.
But, Colin did say they've been called out for lying.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't doubt it. I can attest to that firsthand.
But again, who called him out for lying? That they're the other side is always he's not doing anything. He's not to mention Elon and he have been accused of they're robbing us. They're not saving us money. They're taking it. Really?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Elon, the guy that was loved for the electric car in the last administration, and the one that's called a Nazi now for saving money.
Well, it's going to be an interesting. I'm going to have to take a really good look. I wasn't aware that this website was up. I'm going to have to take a really good look at this and really understand what we're saving. This is interesting. I have to look at this some more.
Yeah, I'm gonna bookmark it because I'll forget. Great, thank you, Colin.
Onto our last subject. Unless anybody's got any others that they want to post in the chat, we'll be happy to cover them. Our last one has to do with DEI.
DEI.
And so, while I agree that we needed a shift on DEI, I think that the shift on DEI and eliminating it has been too strong. Kevin's perspective, I'm going to give him a D here. Reason I'm going to give him a D, I think in general, we should always be conscious of other cultures, other lifestyles.
Mhm.
We should be open-minded to at least listen and accept different points of view. The whole reason we stood up this podcast, Jim,
Mhm.
was based on, right, wanting to hear
Absolutely.
different perspectives, right?
Yep. Yep.
While I agree that there was some extremism, just like anything else out there, we can look at any subject and there's always going to be extremism going on.
Mhm.
I think DEI is an important part of the fabric of this country, right? And understanding, learning, and respecting other cultures. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. But I should be aware of different perspectives, different cultures, different lifestyles. Bottom line.
Mhm. I agree with that. And I think most reasonable people would. But what I think is I'd have to give him a C. And I'll tell you why. You knew I would. Um, First off, he put the skids on a lot of the extremism. It just went too far. The thing is that I think the media and the government, this basically started, really kind of took off a few years ago. You and I, we're older, we're in our 50s. I remember going to high school with gay kids. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. People haven't cared for vast majority of people. There's always going to be a jerk out there, but the vast majority of people have not cared for decades. Then all of a sudden, here's the media and the government telling us that everybody hates them. I'm like, no, we don't hate them. You're just doing this. You're shoving it in our face. We've already learned to live with it. We've already learned to get along. And now you're putting us at each other's throats again, and forcing a change in language, forcing a change in this, a change in that. You can be prideful of this, and this, but DEI, if you notice, does not. DEI is great for a lot of stuff, but the inclusivity falls short because it does not include straight white males. If you're a straight white male, forget about it. You're not included. You're the enemy of DEI. Okay. And never, ever, ever has racism and sexism ever been fixed with more racism and sexism. And that's what DEI is. You're judging people and giving people advantages because of their skin color or their gender. That's the very definition of racism and sexism. Not to mention, if you've got 5 people up for a job, 4 white men and a black woman. Okay. For example, I'm just grabbing, you could say, 4 Asian men and a gay female. I mean, whatever you want to use. That the one, if they're all equal, they have the same amount of college, the same amount of experience, who do you think is going to get it? Not the white male. And that is racism. Now, what happens if 4 of them have 10 years experience each, they have a master's degree, and then you have the one, and I don't want to point out any races or any sex, I'm just going to say the one has half the experience, associate's degree, but guess what? They fall in DEI. So we're going to hire them. Nowhere near experienced, nowhere near as qualified. And when you're talking especially about first responders, police officers, firemen, ambulance, EMTs, that kind of thing, that will cost people their lives. Okay, when you're in a factory and you've got 1,000 people running around a factory and you've got 1 or 2 people that aren't qualified, everybody else can make up for it. That's not people's lives. When you've got a team of 2 or 10 people that are rushing to save someone's life, and you've got people that are underqualified, but they just check the right boxes, someone's going to die. And I mean, what was it? You remember the Dirty Harry movies? You remember when, I can't remember which one it was, but they made her a detective when she was a record keeper because they wanted more women on the force. And they put her out there in the force. And Clint Eastwood, even in that, said that's the hell of a price to pay for being stylish. Yes, it is. And DEI even goes back to, let's say I'm 230 pounds. I'm 220 pounds. You get a woman that can lift me up and carry me down a ladder, have at it. If you can't, and they lower the standards so that she can still get in, that's going to cost lives. You and I both being former military, you know that a woman does not have to meet the same qualifications as a male on push-ups, running, anything. And I don't know about you, Kevin, but I think an AK-47 bullet travels at the same speed regardless of what gender you are. This kind of thing will get people killed.
So, Jim, while I'll agree with some of the things, I think a lot of this was sensationalized through the media. I'm just going to be honest out my perspective on this. There was a lot of things and there were a lot of people that rode. Again, this is about the extremism, right? In anything that we need to get rid of, right? So, there were people that were running programs that wanted, that wanted it to be exactly what you've been talking about, right? But I think the perspective in general, of just having a program that makes sure that we're open and aware of different ideals and cultures is super important. I think when you eliminate that, right, that's the problem. When I think you go to extreme, when you hate people for being just because of your skin color or your gender, that's a problem, right? It's the extremism that I'm against, right?
Yeah. But I mean, the whole DEI thing exists to make sure that enough people of, varying ethnic or gender roles are employed in the workplace. I mean, that takes the merit system. Why would you bother to do the best you can do if you're going to lose a job just because you're a certain skin color?
Well, I don't think it started that way, right? I think it started that way to just expose people to different cultures, different ideas, different backgrounds, right? And I think it got wheels like a lot of things do, right? And it got extreme. It got extreme, Jim, just from my perspective.
The one thing about it, the reason why I rate him a C is kind of going along with what you're talking about. When you stand up and say to a nation full of, in all honesty, diverse people and cultures like we have, and say and declare that if the United States officially only has two genders, while I believe that, I don't think that is a proper way I think that's stepping over a line. You will only conform to this. I don't know if I like that. I agree that there are, but for you to sit up there and write that down in stone as a governing official, yeah, that's too far for me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one for me. That is a subject that we could probably do a podcast on alone, Jim. Mm-hmm. I have very strong feelings about it, and my feelings are non-negotiable about this. And we should probably save that for a podcast, because it's one of those things that I have very, very strong feelings about.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, with us both being in the military, we've served with all manner of people, and your brothers, nobody cares. Your brothers and sisters, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
And unfortunately, the real world isn't always like that.
Yep.
And it should be.
Yep.
I mean, it should be. Even if you disagree, and you have the right still. That's another thing that they're pushing is you don't have the right to not like their lifestyle. No, you have a right to not like their lifestyle. You don't have a right to treat them differently because of it. There's a difference.
No, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jim, we've covered a lot.
We have.
In 45 minutes. I am really excited about our podcast in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always excited about our podcast, but I'm really excited about our podcast in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
The Biden scandal is going to be an exciting discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are angry about Trump, but I don't think enough people are angry about what has gone on in the Biden presidency.
And I don't understand that at all.
And it's fine to be angry, but look back at what we came from and all the craziness. And we're going to talk about that in 2 weeks. And I'm looking forward to it, Jim, because
I am very looking forward to it. And this is not a party line thing. This is, I don't care which party you fall in. If you are that bad off and they cover for you, I'm not going to like it. I don't care if I even liked the president. Reagan, for example, I loved Reagan. That second term of his, yeah.
It's going to be interesting, Jim. It's going to be an interesting conversation. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope that we get a lot of people to tune in about the Biden scandal, right? Because that's exactly the name of the podcast, the Biden scandal. It's a scandal, and we're going to cover that, and that may go a while, Jim.
I was thinking about, that may
that
be a
may
long
go a
podcast.
minute. That may go a minute.
Was it you called it the biggest scandal since Nixon?
Yes, sir.
I believe
Yes,
that.
sir. I think it is. It may even be bigger. I think when everything comes out, it'll be bigger. It'll be one of the biggest.
They're still counting down things that they're finding from AutoPen and things they're finding that he had nothing to do with, and they're starting to point fingers.
And I think it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to it, Jim. It's going to be a good time. Well, Jim, as always, I enjoy doing this podcast with you. I appreciate the people that are listening in, right? Because without them, we wouldn't have a podcast, right? And we are getting listeners. We are getting people. I noticed that even though we don't get as many people as we like live, when I go and look at the videos that are up on YouTube, I do see that we're getting quite a few viewers looking at our videos. So feel free to go over to our YouTube page. If you're not aware that it exists, it's the Signal Brothers on the YouTube. You can find us, and you can see every podcast we've done from the initial inaugural podcast through all the subjects we've covered. So we look forward to people joining us, whether it's live or looking at them afterwards, and hope you enjoy the content we put up there.
Yep. Go check it out.
Well, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jim.
And we are
the Signal Brothers.
Have a good one, folks.
Good night, folks.